On this adventure, we're on Highway 101 again in California. This time we're a little north of Santa Barbara at Refugio State Beach. We check out this historic beach, all there is to see and do there, check out the campground, do a flyover, and really just talk about how great this place is to hang out for the day or to camp at. So Mary and I were talking about what makes Refugio special, and it really is these iconic palm trees that line the shore. And the rocky point with the surf rolling in and the surfers, it really does feel like a Hawaiian beach in many ways, more than it does a Southern California beach. And it's an unspoiled beach as well, meaning there's not a lot of houses near there, there's no city nearby, it's removed from the road, Highway 101 enough, you don't hear a lot of road noise. So when you're on that beach, it's quiet, you hear the surf, there's not a lot of pollution there as far as man-made elements. And the campground is fantastic. It's got this nice big green area for picnicking. The kids can run around. You can throw a frisbee, let your dog run around. There's a basketball court. And then there's this great day use lot where you can park for the day. And then there's two sides of the campground. The west side, sites 1 through 27. And that's a little removed from the beach, but it's prettier. There's more trees. And then the east side of the creek is sites 28 to 67. And the sites up front, they are closer to the water, but it's definitely a little more crammed over there. If one was walking down these windswept sands of Refugio State Beach, one would have no idea the amazing history that this beach has, which even includes piracy. Like, I didn't even know there were pirates in California. Sure enough, there were, and this beach had a huge encounter with the most famous pirate. So here we go. I'm going to walk you through the history of Refugio State Beach. 300 years ago, this was a Chumash Indian village known as Caso. Then, 250 years ago, the famed Spanish expedition of Gaspar de Portola brought with him Father Junípero Serra and famous El Capitan Jose Francisco Ortega. He helped establish and develop the route that Junípero Serra built the missions on, which is Highway 101, the El Camino Real. Once he retired, Spain gave him this land in this area, 25 miles of coastline. So out of that entire section of coastline, Ortega picked this spot right here at Refugio to build his home, and he called it Nuestra Señora del Refugio, which means Our Lady of Refuge. And he only lived here about 3 years though before he was riding on the beach. He was thrown from his horse, and he was so injured he died from his injuries and was buried at the local mission that he helped found with Father Junípero Serra. But his sons did extremely well here. They were very profitable, and they actually started trading with other countries. The problem was that was illegal at the time. Spain forbade it. So they were part of a smuggling run. Even though the Ortega family was in fact smuggling out of Refugio Cove, they had the blessing of the friars at the mission because the people were starving. Spain was not taking care of the people. So they started trading with the Americans and the British. But that made them very wealthy. And that caught the attention of the famous pirate Hippolyte Bouchard. So on December 2nd, 1818, Hippolyte Bouchard and his men showed up at Refugio, but the Ortegas, they were gone. An American captain named Henry Gizelar gave them the heads up that Bouchard was on his way, so they packed up all their valuables and goods and they moved them inland. When Bouchard saw that the house was empty and there was nothing to steal, he burned the house to the ground and killed all their livestock that was left. And there was a little fight that ensued, but he basically packed up and moved south onto Santa Barbara and later on to San Juan Capistrano. Let's fast forward our story about 100 years. A local Goleta pioneer named Stephen Rutherford, he owned this property, but he wasn't doing anything with it, and he was tired of paying the taxes on it. He tried to gift the property to Santa Barbara County. They didn't want it. So he was stuck with this property, and he thought it was a bust until the invention of the automobile. All of a sudden, this amazing little beach was now just a couple-hour drive north of Los Angeles, and people started to come up here in droves, so much so that the state of California told him he had to put in facilities for sanitary reasons. The neighbors convinced him that this was a good idea to turn this into like a beach resort, and so Rutherford's grandson, he turned this into a resort and called it Refugio after the original name, and he planted the palm trees, the famous palm trees. They were planted about 100 years ago, and they've been there ever since. And they were looking for oil. They didn't find oil on the property, but what they did find was mineral hot springs. So that at the time they were using these mineral hot spring baths. The rich and famous would come up here and take their mineral baths and just enjoy this amazing property. Then on February 23rd, 1942, during one of Roosevelt's famous fireside chats, the unthinkable happened. A Japanese submarine just off the coast bombed an oil field just south of Refugio, and just like that, this little beach became right at the forefront of World War II because the government realized it was a perfect location to set up a radar and sonar operation to try and find more Japanese subs. So this little resort real quickly became a military base. Now, unfortunately, after the war was over, the property had become in disrepair, and the family didn't want to dump a bunch of money into it, and so they decided to just sell it to the state of California, which the state at that point bought it and turned it into a state beach. So the public, we the people, now own Refugio State Beach, and we get to enjoy this place every day of the year. And it's in a great place. I mean, all those hot springs are still there. You can see there's these amazing geological features that are created from that hot mineral water seeping out of the sides of the cliffs as you walk down the beach. And there's just a ton of stuff to explore there with the kids. So it is an amazing beach. It's quiet, it's secluded. I can't say enough about how much this beach is very, very different than most of the beaches in California. Just a few days ago, we saw Refugio in the news again. This time it was a wildfire in the canyon, and it was threatening things like the Reagan Ranch and some other really historical areas. But fortunately, they got control of it, and Refugio, you can see it got close, but it was spared. Like most beaches in California, Refugio shines best at sunset, and this evening was no exception. Beautiful colors off the water. But to see it go down over the water, you do have to walk around this little point, and it's about a 5-minute walk. But what a beautiful evening, the colors and the purple hues in the sky. And as you can see, our motorhome, it fit in the day use lot, no problem, we're right on the sand. It was just a fantastic evening to enjoy a beautiful sunset. Hey, thanks for watching this video on Refugio State Beach. If you liked the video, smash that thumbs up button, and if you haven't subscribed, go for it. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and we'd love to hear from you in the comments.